The power of small social rituals and how to create your own. Have you ever noticed how something as small as a warm good morning from the neighbor or a shared cup of coffee with a friend can completely shift the tone of your whole day? It's strange, isn't it? We spend so much of life chasing big moments, birthdays, retirements, holidays, yet it's the small, quiet, almost unnoticeable rituals that bring us the most peace. And when you're over 60, those little things? They become the glue that holds our days together. The rhythm. The heartbeat. But let's be honest. Life changes as we get older. Friends move away. Loved ones pass on. The house gets quieter. And sometimes, the routine that once felt comforting can start to feel, well, lonely. That's why we're here today. Not to talk about changing your life overnight or taking up something extravagant. No. Today is about something simpler and far more powerful. We're going to explore how small social rituals, things you do consistently that involve some kind of connection, even the tiniest bit, can bring back a sense of joy, purpose, and grounding. And even more important, how you can create your own. Because here's the truth, you don't have to wait for someone to invite you to something. You can start a ritual. A moment. A spark. Right where you are. Think back for a second. Was there ever a time when you and a friend had a shared tradition? Maybe you always went for a walk on Sunday mornings. Or called each other after watching your favorite show. Maybe it was a handshake, a joke, a song, something small, but meaningful. That's a ritual. And it mattered more than you knew. Now, let's start with the first powerful idea. Consistency builds connection. Even the smallest gesture, when done regularly, becomes a kind of anchor in your day. Say you make it a point to wave to your neighbor at 8 a.m. every morning. That may seem trivial. But over time, it creates familiarity. Safety. Belonging. It says, I see you. And maybe more importantly, it reminds you that you are seen. Or maybe you decide to send one voice message every night before bed to a family member or an old friend. Not a long conversation. Just a thinking of you or here's something funny I saw today. That's it. But do it again tomorrow. And the next day. Before you know it, you've started a ritual that can outlast silence and distance. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. But what if no one responds? That's okay. Not every ritual needs a reply to be meaningful. Sometimes the act of reaching out, of caring, of showing up, is enough to fill a quiet space in your heart. And over time, people notice. They remember. They return the gesture in their own way. Let's look at another example, the coffee ritual. A woman I once met, Eleanor, 74 years old, lives alone in Arizona, told me something that stayed with me. Every morning, she brews 2 cups of coffee. One for herself. And one for her late husband. She places it across from her, on the kitchen table, and says, "Good morning, darling." That's her ritual. Her way of feeling connected. And she swears it's what keeps her heart open. Rituals don't need an audience. They just need meaning. But if you're someone who misses more interactive connections, let me offer something else. Try what I call a shared moment ritual. Pick one time in the week, say, Thursday at 6 p.m., and have a remote tea time with someone you care about. You each make a cup of tea, sit in your favorite chair, and just be. Even if you don't talk every time. The consistency of knowing someone else is out there, doing the same thing, at the same time, that creates a thread between you. A kind of invisible bridge. And here's the beautiful part, these rituals don't have to be invented from scratch. Look at your life. What do you already do every day? Walk your dog? Read the newspaper? Watch the sunset? Now ask yourself, is there a way I could invite someone into this moment, physically, virtually, or even spiritually? Could I call my daughter and tell her the headline that made me laugh? Could I send my friend a picture of the sky? Could I sit on my porch and wave to the mail carrier at the same time each day? Suddenly, the ordinary becomes sacred. and the lonely becomes shared. When we reach a certain age, people often assume we're winding down. But what if we're just beginning a new chapter? One where the smallest moments carry the most weight. One where rituals, not routines, make the days worth waking up for. So, take a moment. Look around your life. What little rhythm is already there, just waiting to be noticed, named, and nourished? Let's breathe into that. And when you're ready, we'll move forward. So now that you've started to notice the rhythms in your life, the little moments that already have meaning, let's talk about how you can take the next step and shape them into rituals that feed you, not just fill your time. One of the simplest ways to deepen a ritual is to add intention. That means you do the same thing, but now you're aware of why you're doing it. There's a purpose behind the action, even if it's quiet, even if no one else sees it. Let me give you an example. There's a man named Jerry I met in a community garden in Minnesota. He's 68, recently retired, and at first he said he didn't get the whole ritual thing. But every morning, without fail, he walked to the garden with a thermos of tea, pulled out his little wooden stool, and sat facing the same patch of sunflowers. Just sat. Didn't do anything fancy. Just sipped tea, watched the birds, and nodded to the few folks who passed by. I asked him, "Do you realize that's a ritual?" He chuckled and said, "I just like the stillness." But here's the thing, that is intention. He liked the stillness. He made time for it. He returned to it again and again. That moment, that space, became a pocket of calm in his day. And eventually, others started noticing. A neighbor began joining him once a week. Then twice. Now, every Saturday, a small group gathers around Jerry. No big plans. Just thermoses, stools, and stories. That's the power of ritual, it draws people in, even without trying. Now, let's get practical. If you want to create your own ritual, start with a question: what emotion do I want to feel more often? Maybe it's connection. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's gratitude or laughter or even wonder. Let that feeling be your guide. If it's connection you crave, think of a small act that can bridge you to someone else. Not a grand event. Just a gesture. A check-in call every Monday. A handwritten note sent once a week. Even replying to someone's Facebook post with a thoughtful comment instead of just a thumbs up. And if what you want is peace, then build a ritual around being, not doing. Light a candle every evening and sit quietly for 5 minutes. Not to fix anything. Not to solve the world's problems. Just to be with yourself. That's a kind of friendship too, the one you hold with your own heart. What makes rituals different from habits is this: rituals have meaning. You don't just brush your teeth because you're supposed to. You brew a cup of chamomile at 9 p.m. because that's your way of saying today is done. I'm safe. I can rest. And the beauty is, the simpler it is, the more sustainable it becomes. Now, here's something important: your rituals can change over time. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to last forever. You might start a Sunday phone call with your grandson, and after a few months, he goes off to college and the call fades. That doesn't mean it wasn't valuable. It just means the season has shifted. And when that happens, you're free to create something new. You don't need permission to begin again. In fact, some of the most powerful rituals are born out of loneliness or grief. They come from the need to ground ourselves when life feels uncertain. One woman I spoke to, her name was Darlene, told me she started writing a single sentence in her journal every night after her sister passed. Just one sentence. Sometimes it was "I miss you." Sometimes it was "Today, I smiled." Sometimes it was "I didn't cry." Over time, that simple practice became her way of healing. A ritual of remembering and moving forward, one breath at a time. What I want you to hear is this: rituals don't need to be shared to be sacred. But when you do share them, even just with one person, they can become something extraordinary. Think of the rituals in a small town diner. The regular who always sits at the counter. The waitress who knows his order before he speaks. The way the cook waves from behind the grill. That's not just routine. That's a living, breathing circle of human connection. And guess what? You can recreate that feeling, even if you live alone. Start by picking one ritual you'd like to begin this week. Something so small it feels almost silly. A smile to yourself in the mirror every morning. A photo you send to your grandkids each Saturday. Here's what grandma's up to today. A 10-minute music session where you play the same song that lifts your spirit and let yourself dance, sway, cry, whatever your body wants to do. Don't wait for someone else to offer it. Create it. Invite others in if you like, or keep it just for you. And if it helps, give your ritual a name. Call it Sunrise Gratitude, or My Porch Peace, or Coffee and Courage. When you name something, you give it weight. You make it real. You give it a home in your life. It doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, or 90. Your rituals are yours to make, to change, to treasure. No one else gets to define them for you. So let's pause here for a moment. Let's take a breath. You've already begun, just by listening, just by imagining. The next step is waiting for you. Let's keep going, because the most beautiful thing about small social rituals isn't just how they fit into your day, it's how they start to shape the way you feel about yourself and your place in the world. You see, as we grow older, it's easy to feel like the world moves on without us. Friends pass, families get busier, communities change. And in that shifting landscape, it can feel like we're becoming invisible. But rituals, especially social ones, have this quiet power to say, I'm still here. I still matter. I still belong. Let's talk about a woman named Marjorie. She's 82, lives in a small town in Oregon. For years, she felt disconnected. Her kids had moved out of state, she wasn't comfortable driving much anymore, and most of her friends had either moved to assisted living or passed on. The days started to blur. One day, she noticed a teenager from her neighborhood skateboarding down her street every afternoon at the same time. So she did something simple. She started waving. That was it. Just a wave. Every day. The first few times, he didn't wave back. Then one day, he gave a little nod. Then a smile. Weeks later, he stopped for a quick chat. Months later, they were sharing cookies she'd bake and leave out on the porch with a little note. That wave became a ritual. And that ritual became a lifeline. Not just for Marjorie, but for the boy, too. He later told her she reminded him of the grandmother he'd lost. You see how something so small, so unremarkable on the surface, can change two lives? Now I want you to think about your own life. Not the big moments. Not the celebrations or the milestones. But the quiet spaces between. What do you do that already gives you a sense of comfort? What could you do that might create connection, even if it's only for a few seconds? A ritual doesn't need to be daily. It doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to be true. True to who you are. True to how you want to feel. Maybe you start a Sunday gratitude letter, writing to one person each week who made an impact on you, even if they don't know it. Maybe you take a photo of something beautiful you saw and text it to your cousin or old neighbor. Maybe you sing the same song every morning while making breakfast, just to start the day on your terms. Even simple questions can become rituals. What made me smile today? Who crossed my mind? What's one small thing I'm proud of? The answers may surprise you. They may open a door you didn't know was closed. And if you're feeling stuck, let me say this, it's never too late to begin. Never too late to create something gentle and life-giving that belongs only to you. There's a quiet kind of magic in saying, I choose to make this moment sacred. You don't need a crowd. You don't need a reason. You don't even need anyone else's approval. All you need is you, your breath, your awareness, your willingness to show up, again and again, for the parts of life that are soft and slow and often overlooked. Because those are the parts where love lives. Where memory forms. Where healing begins. I know life can be heavy. I know there are days when getting out of bed feels like an achievement. On those days, especially those days, your rituals matter more than ever. They are your gentle way of saying, I'm still trying. I still believe there's beauty left. So here's my invitation to you. Pick one ritual this week. One small thing that you'll do with intention, either for yourself or with someone else. Try it for 7 days. Don't worry about doing it perfectly. Just do it. See how it feels. Let it become familiar. Let it surprise you. And when you do, I'd love to hear about it. If you're comfortable, share your ritual in the comments. Or tell us about a ritual you already have, maybe one that brings you peace, makes you smile, or keeps you going. You never know who might read your words and feel less alone. If this video resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up. It helps others find it too. And if you'd like more gentle encouragement and inspiration like this, hit the subscribe button and join our growing community. You deserve to feel seen. You deserve to feel connected. And you deserve to create a life that feels meaningful, even in the smallest ways. Here's to the power of rituals. Here's to the quiet beauty of showing up. Here's to living your best life, one small, sacred moment at a time.